So think of a life of a project manager. You go with your project schedule to the stakeholders, to the sponsors, and you tell them that this is going to take, say, 7 months. What answer you can expect? They will say, can you shrink it? Can you do something about it so this can be get compressed in 5 months rather than 7 months? Now this is a usual problem, or I would say usual challenge a project manager will face, where they need to figure it out, how can we compress the project schedule. And in many situations the need might be really valid. There is a business reasons for shrinking that project schedule. And you may also want to do things faster, for your own project life, for your own things. Now if something can be done faster, then why we would not be doing it at the first place? The answer is that there may not be an ideal way of finishing the work faster, but there could be some risky way or an expensive way to get this work in a shorter duration. If without taking risk and without spending money, if you can do it in a shorter duration, you should be doing it. You don't have to apply the compression technique there. This is just a normal project schedule. But when you take some chances, when you pay for your schedule compression, we get into a schedule compression technique. So in this particular video, we are discussing two simple schedule compression techniques. One is called fast tracking, another is called crashing. So let's take a simple example. You may come up with a project schedule. You may have a 3 days work of an activity A. So this activity A works for 3 days. Then you have another activity which works for 4 days. And then you have another activity which works for 3 days. So activity B, activity C, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So project is finishing on day 10. Now you may want to figure it out, can I do it in say 8 days? Now you look at the schedule and says, if these two things can be done in parallel, we can do it in 8 days time, assuming the activity A and B is performed by different people. Now if they could have been done in parallel, then why we have shown this particular dependency, which is a finish to start dependency? Now you get into the details of these dependencies. Are they mandatory dependency or they are optional dependency? They are recommended dependency. They are good practice dependency. So if you figure it out, there is no technical dependency. There is no hard logic. There is a soft logic. We prefer to do after A, B, since there are some uncertainties which we may discover when we are working on A, and if we do them in parallel, there could be some risk of rework, and that's why it is told to do them in a serial sequence. So when you find these discretionary dependencies, if they exist in your project schedule, you can think of doing something like, can I bring this little forward till here? Can I start this activity B somewhere here itself? And if it takes 4 days, then this duration gets evaporated and my project may get finished by day 8, because you are bringing everything on the top forward. So the essence of doing fast tracking is we bring previously serial activities in parallel. So in your first schedule, there were some serial activities and you are bringing them in parallel and you are doing fast tracking. We are assuming that there were resources, like you could do it. There are resources available to work on this. So they were anyway waiting for activity A. The another thing we are assuming is that only the discretionary dependencies can be worked in this particular way. So what could be the downside? The downside is those dependencies which were recommended based on some reasons. They were good practices, and when you are making these things parallel, there is a high risk of rework, because by the time you finish this, you realize that the people who are working on activity B, who has taken some information from activity A, may have to rework on it, and that can impact the project duration. So this is fast tracking. Now what is crashing? Crashing is relatively simple. We are not changing the project schedule, we are just adding people or resources to it. So somebody is saying that I take 10 days to do it, activity A. I says, what if I can allocate 3 people to it? Can I make it 4 days? Simple. So can I just crash the schedule without changing any dependencies of it? In general, crashing increases the cost because we are assuming these people are pulled up for crashing a particular activities. In some context, you may have people ideal and you may just put them on extra things. So when you look at a PMP question, it's difficult to see what was the overall project schedule is, but in a general belief, in a normal circumstances, we believe that crashing will increase the cost because we are adding more people to it. Fast tracking will increase the risk because we are avoiding some of the recommended dependencies. Another problem which can come with the crashing is that it can increase the communication cost. Many times, adding people makes the work slow rather than fast. So there is a risk associated with that as well, but as far as the PMP exam is concerned, you can just fairly say, yes, crashing means putting more gas to it, putting more people to it, and trying to do things faster than expected. And by putting these two techniques, you can shrink or comprehend the project schedule. When you are looking at some PMP exam questions, you may get a scenario. The scenario may talk about that the project cost is under control. We still have lots of money left in it. It gives you a feeling that money is not a problem. Then you can think of applying crashing. When it gives you a feeling that people are anyway waiting and they can take a little bit risk, then you start applying fast tracking. So there could be some situational questions where you need to figure it out. How can you compress the schedule by either applying fast tracking or compression, or maybe a mix up of these two. So you need to see the current status of the project. What is the problem? Time is a problem or money is a problem? And accordingly, you pick up the options as described in the question. Do you want to finish your PMP certification in the first attempt? Many aspirants are worried about not making up in the first attempt. Now, if your answer is that yes, you want to get it in the first attempt, you should consider enrolling to our PMP online program. We have videos prepared for the complete PMBOK guide, and these videos not only explains the basic concepts, they get into the details of the fundamentals of those concepts. And that knowledge will help you in getting your certification done faster, and that too in your first attempt. You can find more information about our program at our website, and you can also find the detailed link of our program in the description section of this video.